have a couple of questions. So on slide 8, the next fiscal year.
Again, I think you were in the meeting with Sandag and others, so we're funded. I think the agreement was it for 10 years of committed funding, and so it's right at the 30 train level. What was unfortunate for the district was that we were supposed to be funded for the next tranche, which was the 36 and then the 42 trains. And so we did not receive funding for the 36 and the 42 trains. And so that's not on the table unless we identify a new source of funds unless a new accounting line or some kind of sales tax passes that provide that revenue.
We can double check. I think we're having 5 years, but we could double check. I think we're going to revisit among jointly between SANDAG and CPD-MTS.
Yeah. That was the review every 5 years.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, but we do have our eye on the ball for that going forward to try to look to see if there are any funds that might be out there.
Yeah, but you can remember any funds that we identified, it's going to have to be an ongoing source of revenue. One of the things that we can do and look at and communicate with Sandag about is that with the CMAQ money that they have, one of the eligible activities is an expansion. So if they have a pot of money that we could use CMAQ money to fund 3 years of expansion.
Okay. I've written myself a note that says page 13, but I'm not quite sure what I was wanting to talk about on page 13. My other question is basically expenditures. I get all into everyone else's questions and lose my own track of here. Oh, I know. So the TRCP $100 million grant award, does that show up in our budget any place, or is that Sandag holding on to that money, or how's this work?
Well, so that grant has not yet been appropriated, but we were the applicant for that $100 million. We will figure out where it will sit once we are ready to go under an Exhibit A agreement with Sandag. The other element of that is we're waiting to hear back. I don't know the exact date on the federal state grant, which would provide, if we're successful, the additional $130 million that's needed. So we handle it one of two ways. Sometimes we hold the money and we reimburse Sandag for expenses. Sometimes we transfer the entire tranche of money over to Sandag and have them just implement the project with the money.
So it's almost pass-through funds regardless, right?
Either way.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions, anyone? Board Member Contreras.
I just want to say that I appreciate Board Member Hinsey bringing up the sheriff's contract and your comments about how we have to create a better environment of security, and there is a responsibility at our municipal levels to do that. So I just want to say I appreciate and I agree with your comments.
Great. Okay. Well, this brings us to the Executive Director's Report. And Mr. Tucker, do you have anything fun to share with us today?
First, I will report that I am not grumpy and I'm not upset.
Anymore.
Depending on what you guys say next, I may be. But no, in fact, I think you snuck up on me with jumping to the Executive Director's Report, and I was going to touch on budget a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, we can stay on budget.
Okay, let's stay on the budget.
Okay.
So just a couple of points of, so how can you go back to the budget? A couple of points that I do want to make in terms of kind of, you stop here, the 5-year plan. So when you look at the 5-year plan as an example, it's important to note, so none of the discretionary grant programs, potential funding for them is included in the capital improvement program beyond what we have already been allocated and under contract with. So for example, that 100 million you just brought up, we're not yet under contract, so it's not yet in the budget. So the great thing about this is that we have lots of opportunity to add to the budget as it relates to the capital improvement program going forward over the next 5 years, should those programs remain in place. The second big comment that I will make is around priorities and workload. You didn't get into this level of detail in the budget, but I just want to make sure everybody, we added significant resources into this budget and into the MV contract budget of personnel. And on the NCTD side of the shop, I think I could get a 100% agreement on one thing, is that there is a significant workload. And, despite our best efforts over the last couple of years of adding staff, we haven't been able, as we would say, to fill those positions. And then the secondary piece of it is we've been so fortunate in terms of our grants that we have a lot of projects to implement. If you looked at UNE's kind of augmented capital and project list, a lot of those projects are projects that Mr. Orlando and his team, working in collaboration with me, are advancing, which are projects that are going to really impact the customer riding experience in significant ways, but they're not the biggest project. They're not a $50 million project. They're bus stop blades, they're shade projects, they're bench projects, there's technology, there's ticket vending machines. And so I'm conveying this to you all is that it's going to become a premium for me in terms of managing staff time. And so as we go forward into this fiscal year, and I'll tell you, because there's some self-management for myself in terms of, because I love ideas, that I'm having to practice in terms of the discipline so that the staff can actually work on the projects that we already have in front of us. And so I'm going to ask the board as we go through the next fiscal year, let's work through likely a much more formalized process for adding projects and initiatives, because truthfully, between all the technology projects and all of the other activities that we have going on in the district, there's no there until we can get resources, and I'm going to try to augment resources in the interim period of time with some consulting services to even stand in on some functions to get them up and running. So I just want to make you aware of that. On the bus side of the shop, as evidenced in the budget, this now includes the insourcing of bus operations. So I wanted to make sure everybody knows that. So in the course of doing that, I aligned the MV contract with the insourcing organizational chart for the district. And so I'm in the process of working through the organizational chart evolution that will occur over time. But within that org chart was creation of the positions that will map over directly. So we intend, assuming board approval, to really transition over the 3-year period so that it won't be a date that's going to feel like a painful date of cut over, that it will be a natural transition. And I'll give you an example, because the bus system is where our largest ridership occurs, and it's also where it's most under-resourced. So one of the issues we were looking at is, again, change circumstances. From when I got here, we had mostly senior operators, almost all having come from the military. And those folks, they came to work and they were committed. We have a bunch of new employees and things are different. And so originally when we contracted out, when we removed some of those middle management positions, you didn't see a blip because those people were self-performing. They just come to work and get their damn bus and do their work. That's not the case so much today. And so within this budget, we added 6 new supervisory positions because the person who runs West Division, I'm gonna make up a number, theoretically manages 200 bus operators, and that person is the only person between the bus operators. That's a heck of a span of people to manage, right? And so we've done those types of activities within this budget. And so I want to make sure you're attuned to, we're addressing those performance issues, adding the resources, the training resources that are going to be needed, some of which are included in this budget in our organizational training department that we're standing up. as well over in the MV contract with significant changes. For example, our bus trainers, behind the wheel trainers, will no longer be operators that are expected to work every day as a bus operator. They will be full-time trainers. And so those are the activities that are included in this budget in significant detail. And I'm just really trying to just alert, we're going through lots of growing pains with a rail transition. Lots of growing pains, lots of cleanup of historical issues and standing our business processes and systems. This is the right budget. I think we're definitely on a pretty sustainable course, assuming all of the other things that have to take place for the economy to keep going, sales tax and materialize where we want it to materialize. But this is a significant period for the district in terms of focus and getting to the quality and implementation of the business systems and tools that we need to be successful going forward. So I just want to make sure that I stated that as part of this budget process, because that is going to reflect a lot of the transition of which you're going to be hearing in future board meetings. What we're going to be bringing is going to be really evolving around these kinds of activities, because the truth of the matter is we want to focus in on high quality service. And to do that is going to require a certain level of discipline to execute on projects, business systems, processes, and training that support that. So that's what this budget is really all about. So I wanted to make sure that I gave that context to all of you all as we move this forward. So the budget action that we will be coming back for in June will be to approve the budget, and also per the prior approval that we got from the board, that we can, since we can demonstrate that balanced budget with insourcing, to grant us that approval to move forward with that as an action. So I just wanted to share that around the budget.
May I have a question?
Yes, I'll start at this end.
So when you say clean up the rail situation, are you talking about like, is it physical or is it operations?
Well, so for example, and I've said it a couple of months in terms of Sprinter performance, as an example. The Sprinter performance in terms of mechanical reliability and vehicle availability is not where it needs to be. And so we really do need to lean in on that. Lots of business process improvements that need to take place at rail, lots of training and formalization of procedures for all staff, and getting the buy-in on the staff, and creating kind of the integration that we're going to want to have between bus and rail activities, as well as some infrastructure improvements like the bus wash, the train wash at the coastal facility is not working properly, and so the trains are not clean to the standard that we need to be clean. So we need to replace that train wash. We need to add some more infrastructure improvements at that facility to really make it more efficient in terms of maintenance activities. So those kinds of activities that need to take place across the system.
Okay, so you're literally needing to clean up the train.
Literally, you got it right.
Okay, and then I think you're really good at being honest with us, but when we make those requests and we're asking too much, then what you can take on in this time, just let us know, because I think sometimes we make an ask and then it might go out in the ethers and you're working on it, and if it's something that you have to take off your plate, just be honest with us and let us know that's one of those asks we're trying to make.
Yeah, no worries. And what I would say typically, if you're asking something of me that's within my zip code, no matter what, I'll make happen. It's really those things that may translate down into staff time. You know what I mean? Because my time is your time.
Okay, Director Contreras.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. So I just have a question regarding the SCAP, because some of the stuff that you talked about, right? Yeah, the CAP the climate action plan that you talked about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's like
all right, I'm throwing you another curveball. No, because when we do look at, like you stated, our biggest ridership is on the bus system, and there's a lot of improvements that need to happen. Some of them are, the city's going through NCPD to get the, permission for right of way and whatnot. But things that are, as we're looking at enhancing our transit centers and bus stops and stuff like that, does pursuing the SCAP and trying to get some grant dollars, like where can that go to?
So, I'm gonna try to split, because the sustainability plan, that's moving, for example, Vista Transit Center, for which you and I, we talked about this, and within the Sprinter, within the breeze speed and reliability study, the negative impact to bus on-time performance and also impacts to general traffic. So one of the things that we're gonna do is, within that as an example, we're gonna be seeking directed grants for projects. So one of the things Chris and Mary and I talked about was, we're gonna be pulling out some of those high priority projects and then trying to really find partners to work with us towards identifying funding and who should be making the improvement. Because if the project is on the county property, it may be best if the county makes the improvement. If it's on state property, then likely it would be state, or if it's in Vista. So we're gonna have to work through those types of things. So those kinds of activities are within the wheelhouse of the things that we are committed to focusing in on and executing on. The sustainability program is gonna give us some information, but that information itself is not gonna be fully actionable for the district until we start having our business systems to be able to capture all of the data that we want to capture around our impacts and things that we're doing to positively impact things.
Okay, yeah, so it sounds like it's a long process.
It's a long process.
What would your best estimate be for the timeline for that process?
So a significant part of what we're trying to do is align things in with insourcing of bus. Now, I'm not talking about these physical improvements, because capital projects don't move as fast as any of us would like. But on the business system side, we're really focused in over the next 3 to 5 years, really transforming the district in terms of how we use technology. Because again, we got down to 80 staff people when we outsourced, and you didn't need all of this technology that we now need to work correctly and be related and connected. So again, depending on what we're talking about, you got different scales. Some of it's going to be dependent upon funding, and if we can find strategic partners that can help advance projects. And I'll give you the example, like BNSF is a strategic partner for us. And so BNSF is building the convention center platform for us and doing our signal optimization program. I can tell you how little stress we have had around them being able to take control of projects and deliver all the projects for us. And we have them as a partnership for future projects on the rail line that we're going to utilize. So we're going to be looking for people and partners who can actually deliver cost effectively and efficiently for the district, because we do have a pretty significant work plan that is real. Yes, in some instances we need to chase and get money, but we found ourselves pretty successful in doing that. So each of these things are going to flow out on different, different schedules and in different ways.
Okay, so it could be helpful in the end. And would that help with what you just stated too, that there's a need to really prioritize, and there's not, I can't say it as eloquently as you just said it, right? But just the constraints that you have in managing all these different projects, is that going to be beneficial to reduce the stress on
being
able to manage those projects?
Well, part of the whole thing is we should realize efficiencies as we improve business processes. And so part of this is towards that, because we have quite a few antiquated processes that are overly time consuming. And part of this thing to me is we got to be able to do two things over time really well. We got to get really efficient, and at the same time, we have to continue to manage costs and try to drive down costs as we try to do better things. And so we're going to have to balance all of these things. And over time, we'll be able to lay out to you kind of all of these significant activities and schedules. So there's no worry there. There's going to be transparency for the board to be able to see the activities. We've been ramping up all of this time. And the key issue is that we just, in certain instances, we just need more resources. We need to hire people, or just accept the fact we're not hiring anybody today. Can I contract for someone who can really help us get this thing moving fast and furious and bring value to the district that would make the squeeze worth the juice in terms of spending more money?
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. It sounds like we have a lot of horses and not enough gates, so, all right, thank you.
Okay then, I don't see any other hands raised, so time for the executive director's report.
No report.
I think that was a setup. So board members, does anyone have anything to report? No? I would just like to invite everyone to ride the coaster or Breeze Buses 101 or 308, to beautiful Solana Beach this weekend for the 42nd annual Fiesta del Sol. The event's free, the venue's on the coast, and the talent is booked by Belly Up. And believe me, a good time is had by all, so come on over. It's Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 9 on Saturday, 9 to 8 on Sunday. And, it really gets rocking from about 2 o'clock on. Earlier tends to be more casual, local, ballet folklorico and those types of community groups, dance groups and stuff. But yeah, if you're there by 1 o'clock, it's a lot of fun. Okay, so Helen, do we have any remaining public comments today?
No, Madam Chair.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. The next scheduled meeting will be our regular board meeting, June 15th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Rail Safety and Community Enhancement, aka RECE committee meeting, June 30th, 2023 at 11 a.m. Marketing, Service Planning, and Business Development, also known as MISPDA, committee meeting on June 30th at 2 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.